Hey guys, Chris Honeycutt here with some more Thursday Thoughts. Today we're talking about attitude. And my mentor John Maxwell once said, leadership has less to do with position than it does disposition. This means our outlook, what we vocalize, our general demeanor all go a long way in how people respond to our leadership. This is because that we influence other people, the people that they lead. A positive attitude creates a positive atmosphere. John also says this encourages positive and productive responses from other people. So your attitude goes a long way. You have influence, and what you do with that influence influences others. It helps them be either better leaders and more positive leaders, or they're going to carry the same vibes, the same energy, the same attitude that you are as a leader. And this is where we look at Philippians chapter 2, verse 14. Do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky as you hold firmly to the word of life. As believers, that we have really no excuse to have a bad attitude. Even in the midst of persecution, even in the midst of trials, bad times, this is where we have to shine. If you have a different perspective that this world is not everything, this life is not your only life, then you can have a great attitude in the midst of bad times. And so this also applies to leadership, because leadership is needed the most when times aren't so great. That you need people that are positive, that are carrying that vision forward, that are able to vocalize things that are not common in those circumstances. What is uncommon during bad times is a positive outlook. What is uncommon in bad times are people that have a smile on their face, even though they have every reason not to have one. And so today, I want to give you 4 tips on how to have a great attitude. Number 1, disown your helplessness. If everything's woe is me, everyone's out to get me, who wants to follow that? No one wants to be around someone who's always making excuses and thinks that they're always under attack. Now, you may very well be under attack. You may very well have every excuse in the book, but you don't have to vocalize that. You know what? This is where people are looking to you. And what you say and your posture, your attitude, all that is conveying confidence in something. As a believer, you have everything you need. You have everything that you need for this life to be a success. And so it doesn't mean that success is guaranteed. It doesn't mean always that success will happen. It does mean that you can believe in someone's potential. You can have hope. You can carry on with a smile on your face because you have confidence that comes from the Holy Spirit. This confidence is not in yourself. You don't win if you keep complaining. And this is where you have to challenge yourself. And as a leader, you challenge others to take responsibility. Even if something's not your fault, the buck stops here. This is where Harry Truman had a famous plaque on his desk at the White House. And it said, the buck stops here. He may not have direct responsibility, but he's taking responsibility. And that's what we as leaders have to do. That's the burden of leadership, that we can't make excuses. We can't place the blame on other people. And number 2, take the bull by the horns. Another one of our U.S. presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, once said, "There is nothing brilliant or outstanding about my record, except perhaps one thing. I do the things that I believe ought to be done, and when I make up my mind to do a thing, I act." That means that you have set it in your mind that you're going to do something, that nothing can get in your way, no one can stop you, and you are going to set yourself on a path of success. And so you have to start asking yourself these questions. What is it that I really want? What will it cost me? It's expensive to be a winner. And this is where we have to have that winning mentality. That means we recognize a situation for its lack of leadership. We recognize a situation for its lack of vision. And we are going to implement ourselves, inject vision into those circumstances. We take it in the context maybe of the church. There's a lot of things I would love to see done in our church. I would love to see our church grow. I would love to see it get bigger buildings and be multiple locations, but all that is a hefty price. But you know what? If I say, oh, we can't afford this, we can't do that, then I'm not being a visionary. As a leader, you must convey hope. You must convey confidence. You have to take the bull by the horns when no one else is wanting to do it. And number 3, enter the no whining zone. We all experience times when we feel bad. And our attitude can't stop our feelings, but it can keep our feelings from stopping us. We must express gratitude that is separate from your feelings. Yes, that means you have to be vocally expressive about someone else's success, about someone else's win, even though you may not be so excited about that. Another thing is we have to express gratitude for the small and ordinary things. We can't take those things for granted. Everything is a blessing. Everything is an honor to be a part of. And so you have to have that mentality, that mindset that, even the small things make a difference, and we have to appreciate them. Another thing is this: we must express gratitude, especially in the midst of adversity. I can remember stories of my grandparents talking about their days in the cotton fields in West Texas and how they would complain as a child about the heat during the summertime. They didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have ice cold water. They didn't have Gatorade. They didn't have popsicles, all that stuff. They did have a right probably to complain, but they were raised not to complain. They were raised that if they ever did complain, maybe there'll be punishment for that. That they just have to be good and humble and diligent workers. And so we oftentimes have to get past the right to complain. Complaining really doesn't get you anywhere. It might get you that extra portion at the restaurant. It might get your drinks refilled, whatever it might be. But in life, as a general rule, good leaders are not complainers. That they'll be accepting of the circumstances and they'll make maybe helpful suggestions, but whatever they do, they don't complain. So I've always tried to take a better approach. I offer feedback, but I also make sure I'm ample in my supply of praise when things do go as they should, to reinforce good habits, to reinforce people that are trying their best. Number 4, leaders must put on a new pair of shoes. You ever heard the phrase, hey, have you ever walked a mile in someone else's shoes? That's what this is talking about. That leaders have to have 2 perspectives, their own, but also the person that's receiving their leadership. What is it like to see with their eyes and hear with their ears? And this is where you have to have the attitude that, what you're doing, what you're saying is fair to all, as fair as it can be, because it's not always going to be completely fair to everybody, but it's where you have to have some equity, if you will. How are people going to benefit for what I'm telling them? So some helpful advice here is to make a list of the people that you lead, the people that you influence, your team members. And next to each of their names, write what their perspective is on any matter that you have influence over them for. That means keep them positive and give them the benefit of the doubt that their perspective may be different than yours. If this proves to be a little bit difficult for you, maybe you need to get to know your team members a little better. So I hope those 4 tips are helpful to you today in adjusting your attitude, helping it point north and be a little bit more positive and uplifting. I'm going to end with this quote from Helen Keller, who was deaf and blind. She had every reason to be down on life, every reason to complain. But she said this: optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope. And so when we're talking about attitude, we're really talking about hope. If you are negative, no one's going to want to follow you. You might have some other friends of yours complain with you, but you're going to get nowhere. You'll be stagnant in life. You have to have hope. And so this is where you must wear an attitude of gratitude. You must be hopeful in circumstances that are hopeless. So if you are a leader, know that there's a price to pay. Know that you have the burden of leadership and you can't have a bad attitude. You must look within yourself. That's where the Holy Spirit resides. And know that you have everything you need to get it done. That with God, anything is possible. And that's why you can have a great attitude. That's it for Thursday Thoughts. Have a great day.